Hello everyone, I'm back again today since talking to you a few weeks ago, just to update you on the plans for awarding grades this summer, and hopefully to answer some of the key questions that have come up over the last few weeks. I think it's important at this stage also to say a massive well done to how positively the students have returned to us and how focused you've been on the task ahead. So since we last spoke, I thought it would be useful just to outline what things have been taking place to prepare. In line with the government guidance, we've developed and finalised plans with our departments regarding what evidence we will be using to establish your grades and also what further mini-assessments we would want to run. Departments have then been able to share those plans with mini-assessments with you, including the work that you will need to cover. And then, really productive work has been taking place in the last few weeks in lessons to help you prepare. Mini-assessment timetables have been published, hopefully giving you clarity on what and when the mini-assessments will happen. And our departments have then been preparing you with resources and tasks that can be completed over Easter to ensure that you come back confident and ready for the weeks ahead. So in this section, I'm going to answer a few of the key questions that students have been asking about this process. We've also put together all of this information along with some of the other questions into a document for you to read through at home. And we hope this gives you a bit more clarity on what is happening over the next few weeks. The first question looks at the format of mini-assessments. Will there be an exam timetable? Will there be exam leave for students? In the majority of cases, these mini-assessments will not need to be the equivalent of full examinations and will be shorter. All Year 11 and Year 13 students will be on study leave from the week commencing 3rd of May, which means you will only come into school at the times you have assessments. This will minimise disruption to lessons and allow you adequate time to prepare. Mini-assessments for Year 11s will take place on the English corridor, like in the November mock examinations. Year 13 students will use the sixth form study base, SG4, and some classrooms in the sixth form block to sit their mini-assessments. From the week commencing the 3rd of May, there will be a timetable created for both the Year 11 and Year 13 mini-assessments. These will run at the same time and will be invigilated for quality assurance purposes. The timetables for the mini-assessments can be seen here, and copies of these have been attached in the letter. Please ensure you note down when your assessments will be taking place and whether it's a morning or afternoon exam. The next question looks at practical assessments. Many specifications were adapted at the start of the year to remove some practical elements due to time constraints, and this will not change. For subjects that depend on 100% coursework for the assessments, such as art, departments will continue to build and develop the quality of your existing portfolio work over the coming weeks. The majority of subjects that have got practical assessed elements have created opportunities for students to complete these within lesson time and occasionally after school during the spring term. And for some of you, those assessments have already taken place, like in drama. Some GCSE practical assessments will also take place during the mini-assessment period. So how will the school share the plans for mini-assessments with students, and when will that be published? Specific information about assessment topics will be shared with you in lessons. Departments will make explicit the topics you're required to revise, and they will provide revision materials and resources where appropriate, and you may have had a lot of this information already. This means you can go off over Easter really clear on what you need to do and use the Easter period to complete that all-important revision ready for mini-assessments. So that the process is absolutely transparent, all the information about what evidence each subject will use to establish your grades and the department's mini-assessments will be put into a booklet for every child in Year 11 and Year 13. We will publish this booklet as a reference, ready for the first week back after Easter. So the next question looks at, will I be told my marks or my grade for assessments in lessons or during the assessment window? Now the short answer to that is no. All the mini-assessments are taken into consideration along with all the other evidence we have on you. Student grades will be submitted to the exam boards on June the 18th and students' final grades will be published on results day. The government guidance is really clear on this. Please do not ask your teachers for your grades. We will not be able to share this information with you. So how do you find out what your current grade is? Nice and simple. Your most recent interim report will have your current working grade for every subject. I've put these next two questions together as I think they're quite linked. The first one says, can my current grade go up or down in these mini assessments? Now the simple answer is yes, and I want to be clear on this. The mini assessments form an important part of the whole picture. Whilst they're not the only factor in determining the outcome, they will form an important part of the evidence that makes up your final grade. Now the second question asks, how important are these mini assessments in establishing my final grade? The mini assessments are an important opportunity for you to demonstrate your progress that you've made since the mocks you took in the autumn term. These assessments will form part of your final grade, and therefore it's important that you prepare for them thoroughly in order to reach your full potential. How will the school ensure my marks are fair? Now this is a really important question. All work submitted as part of the portfolio of evidence for each of your subjects will be checked by a range of staff within school. This detailed moderation means your assessments may be marked and checked several times by different members of staff to ensure the grades are accurate. This process will also happen externally with our partner schools. Additionally, the marks awarded will be checked by the senior leadership team, and this all forms part of a thorough quality assurance process. Ofqual, the exams regulatory body, will then also be doing spot checks on schools nationally to ensure the processes used in schools are consistent and fair. Now linked to this, we will look at how the school will work to eliminate any bias. The school will make every effort to ensure that bias is minimised on the marking of assessments. Staff have taken part in training this year on unconscious bias, and further strategies will be put in place to reduce bias, including removal or partially removing students' names from assessments when marking or moderating, use of candidate numbers instead of names, teachers swapping work to mark, or marking a different class. Careful standardisation and moderation processes with actions arising are clearly recorded and acted upon. And middle leaders will also be keeping records of the moderation process, as this could be called upon when exam boards standardise centres externally. So what is the last day for students? Friday the 28th of May will be the last day students are required to be in school. Students who've completed all their mini assessments, and if no further data is required on them, may be able to finish slightly earlier than this. Students in Year 11 will be supported with their transition into Key Stage 5 through bridging work that will prepare them for the A-level and BTEC subjects they will study in sixth form. Those not staying onto the content will also be provided with alternative careers work, and more information will come out about this after the mini assessments have been completed. So when is results day? Tuesday the 10th of August will be the A-level and BTEC results day for Year 13 students, and Thursday the 12th of August will be the GCSE results day for Year 11s. And also there will be the enrolment day into sixth form taking place on that day when you pick up your results. There will be a team of staff available in school on the day of the results to support you with the transition onto the next stage of your education. For Year 13 students, this will include support with post-18 options, and for many of you that will include securing your places to university. For Year 11 students, that will include enrolling you into sixth form on that day when you pick up your results, or a careers meeting about the plans for alternative destinations for post-16 options. For both year groups, there will be more information about preparing for these days over the coming months. Lastly, what can you do if you're unhappy with your results? Now, after results day, you have the right to appeal your grades, and I talked about this a little bit in the last video. As with all appeals, they can go up, they can stay the same, which most do, or they can go down. Changes in the grades will be unlikely, as they're based on evidence from a 2-year period. But just so you understand, the appeals process has 3 main stages. Stage 1 is where you can ask the school if there's been an administrative error, if we've made a mistake inputting the data. Stage 2, if there hasn't been an administrative error, you can ask the school to appeal to the exam board on your behalf. The school will need to provide the following information, so that's the evidence used to determine your grade, the school's justification for the grade, your concerns, and details of the process used to determine the grade. The exam board will then decide if the grades represent an appropriate or reasonable exercise of academic judgment. Stage 3, if you're still unhappy with the outcome, you can use the school's complaints policy or raise your concerns with the grades through that route as well. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is directing you to this timeline. There is a copy of this in the letter that was sent home, and I've included this to highlight that there's not a great deal of time left. At the end of this week, it will be the Easter holidays. There are then 2 weeks of support lessons once you return before your assessments begin. I think the key message to therefore take away from this is that every lesson counts. Every bit of homework counts, and the work that you can do to prepare and revise has to start now. And by doing that, you give yourself the maximum chance at doing well in these upcoming mini assessments. So, in summary, trust in the systems we have in place. We are working incredibly hard behind the scenes to ensure that this system is fair, it's clear and transparent, so that you know what to expect and you can prepare in the best possible way, confident that everything that we're doing is in line with government guidelines. Keep going with your work. You've made an excellent start back. Just continue with this focused approach in school and at home. Make the most of Easter to prepare. Make sure before you break up that you have everything you need to revise over Easter. Make sure you have a clear plan for revision and stick to it. And finally, ask for help where you need it. We are here to support you every step of the way. Speak to us if you're finding things difficult. We are here to help. Thanks very much for listening, and good luck over the next few weeks.